Hey everyone, welcome back. All right, in this session, I wanted to discuss something that again keeps coming up, and it's one of the biggest challenges I believe that songwriters have. Whether you're a singer-songwriter or just a straight-up songwriter, this is the biggest challenge post writing the song. Okay, so assuming you got your song, you've written it, or you've got a bunch of songs, the challenge is getting them out there. You know, we seem to have so many different ways to do that these days, like a lot more than we did even 10 years ago, or 20, definitely 30. The further back you go, it seems like there's more opportunities these days than there were back then. But I'm not sure how true that is. You know, the fact that the platforms are there, like, you know, Spotify, iTunes, you know, you go down the list. I mean, there's many ways to get your music out there. Social media is a big one, of course, which is also free. You can just put your music out there. But the problem, of course, as we all know, is that there's a lot of noise online, right? There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people doing exactly that. Just putting up anything and everything. I think I heard like on YouTube, there's like, I don't know, millions of uploads a day. I think, I'm not sure if I'm exaggerating there, but I heard it's a huge number of uploads, and that's just YouTube. So, you know, the algorithms are working overtime to sort out, you know, what they're going to present to who, depending on, of course, their browsing history, their search history, all that stuff. So it seems like there's a lot more opportunities to put your stuff out there, but at the same time, it's also very challenging, maybe even more challenging than it ever was. Okay, so it's difficult. It's tough. So anytime I'm asked that question, like how do I get my music out there? For me, I've got a different approach. Okay, I don't do the social media thing. Do all of that, get on the distributors, get on DistroKid and whatever, and put your music on Spotify, put your music everywhere. There's nothing wrong with that, absolutely nothing wrong with that, okay? That's a good thing. But I've got a different strategy that I recommend to my students and to anyone that asks me, all right? And it's basically this: start small, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, get out there, first of all right? Clubs are still out there. Bands are still out there. They're still performing. They're still out there, guys. All right? Nothing really has changed. You go to your local pub, your local club, your local bar, okay, where they have live music, and you're going to see bands up there. Most of them are doing covers. That's true. But believe me, 99% of those bands that you get, if you could put them on the side and ask them the question, would you love to play your own songs? Would you love to play originals? Would you prefer to play originals than covers? They would say originals. Okay? Everyone wants to have their own voice, to have their own message, right? I don't think that's unique to, you know, I think we're all on that same boat. All musicians, artists, they want to do their own thing. They want to present their own creative, you know, ideas to people. So start there, you know, get out to the clubs, connect with bands, up and coming bands. You know, there's some amazing bands out there, incredibly tight, incredibly talented, really good bands that can play, that are tight, that have been playing together for a while, but they don't have songs. You know, they're missing that ingredient. You know, they just don't have the songs. You know, back in the day, and this is like going back, but there was a band that was really, they had it all together. They were just, they were together for a while. They were in the mid or late 20s. They were very well rehearsed, a lot of touring experience, a lot of playing live experience. I mean, they were tight, okay, but they didn't have songs. In the 5 or 6 years that they were together, I think they wrote 3 songs. They had a 3-song demo. It was a rock and roll band, okay? A bit on the heavy side, but basically rock, okay? Rock, pop-ish, but on the heavier side. You know, think like, you know, Creed. That style of music. And they were just so good, but they had these 3 songs on this demo. After all those years, that's what they were able to write. And I remember back then, because I was young, had just started off. I was just starting to play or starting to write a little bit, and I just assumed that everyone who can play an instrument can write a song. I didn't know that this was a thing, that this is a problem for a lot of bands. I had no idea until I was told about this band. And my brother knew this band, and he told me about them. He goes, Bill, look, check it out. They have these songs, and that's all they've been able to write. They don't have any music, can you give them some songs? He wanted to hook me up with them, but I was young. I mean, I wasn't writing in that genre at all. And at the time, and I was just like really fresh, okay? My songs, I don't think were any better than theirs. But I was really surprised by looking at this band. They were much older than me, and they were playing for so long and playing together. So there's like 4 of them, right? That's a lot of contribution from different members. And I couldn't believe that they had only written 3 songs in that whole time that they were together. Okay, now, and this does happen. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. Bands struggle in a big way to write songs, to write original music, and that is something that as a songwriter you can capitalize on in a big way, because bands need songs. So you can start at a grassroots level, go to the clubs, go to the pubs, okay? Battle of the bands. They still do Battle of the Bands. I mean, this thing started back in the day. I mean, I remember from the 80s, Battle of the Bands was happening, and it was a big deal back then, but it still happens. Competitions. Bands compete against each other, and, it's a great way, a great place to go and be exposed to all kinds of potential artists that can play and sing your songs. As a songwriter, if you're strictly a songwriter, if you're a singer-songwriter, or if you have a band, the obvious thing to do would be to get out there, okay? That's get on stage and perform, okay? That's really the best way to reach people and to connect with people. That's an amazing way to do it, okay? But if you're just a songwriter, get out there. Another thing that you can do is check out the reality TV shows, all right? Things like, The Idol, American Idol, Canadian Idol. I think Canadian Idol is not a thing anymore. Australian Idol. There's all kinds of idols all over the world, okay? And because of social media, you can reach out to any of these people, and believe me, they're accessible. Maybe not the winners or the runners-up. You could try them as well. But the other contestants that got knocked out early, that are not that popular, but still, they've made a bit of a name for themselves. They definitely can sing, because they got into that competition. I mean, every one of them are pretty amazing singers. So you can reach out to them, and one thing most of them don't have is songs. A lot of them are just singers. They're not even musicians. In other words, they don't play an instrument. Okay, so maybe they got some lyrics around. You could marry the lyrics with your music. There's a lot of opportunity there to reach out to these people. So it's really amazing. Don't limit yourself to thinking that as a songwriter, your only avenue is like publishers or record companies or producers, or, reaching out to these major artists, trying to get in with their management, or even directly, which is very difficult, but trying to reach these artists directly. Forget about it, because they're way up there. And way up there, okay, there is a community, a whole community of songwriters, producers, and they know their people. They have their people that they go to, and believe me, there's a lot of people, okay? They even have like songwriting workshops and camps and you name it, okay? Competing at that level when you're down here, when you're just starting out, or you haven't made a name for yourself yet, it's virtually impossible. So attack it at your level. Hit the clubs, hit the pubs, Battle of the Bands, competitions, look it up. Wherever you are in any major city, you're going to have all kinds of clubs, all kinds of pubs. Live music is happening all the time. That's one thing that hasn't changed, and it's amazing. And you can meet bands face to face. That's the most powerful way to pitch yourself, to pitch your music, to pitch an idea, to say, hey, why don't we get together? I've got these songs, and not enough songwriters do this. They don't go after it. They don't go out there. They don't put themselves out there like in the real world. Not just social media, just going out to clubs and pubs and meeting people and reaching out to these competition winners or participants. Forget the winners sometimes. Look at the other guys on there, and they're all available. Okay, you can reach all of them. They all have social media, and if they haven't made it yet, if they haven't made a big name for themselves, or if they haven't won any of these big competitions, they're very accessible. They really are. But we don't do that, like most songwriters, they'll stay at home, they'll pick up their guitar, and just write the next song. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to share your music with others, if you want other artists to sing your songs and to get them out there to the world, you're going to have to take some action, and just social media on its own is not enough. Reaching out to publishers is also not enough because everyone is doing it, especially with the majors, the big ones, the big publishers, the big record companies, the big producers. It's just, they're not accessible. They're bombarded, okay? They're constantly bombarded by artists, by fans. Forget the actual artists are just totally inaccessible. There is no way unless you've got an in somehow. Okay, and that's a possibility. If you know people that know other people that can reach that artist. And one other thing as well, to try to pitch your music when you're sending off to record companies, producers, publishers, whatever, go for the smaller ones. Go for the indie labels, the smaller labels. Those labels are a lot more, you might not get a huge deal, but they're a lot more open to unsolicited material from people that they don't know. And they're more likely to respond to you and give you some feedback, which can also be very valuable and help you along the way. Okay? I hope that helps you guys out a little bit because this question keeps coming up a lot. All right? And so that's my advice. I give this advice to my students and anybody that asks me that wants to go on this road of songwriting. Of course, if you're a band, if you're an artist, singer, songwriter, like I said, keep doing all the social media. Put your music out there as much as possible and gig, right? You have to get out there. That's for sure. You got to get in front of people. Still a very big deal, okay? Still very important. It's still very, very valuable to do that and go out there and actually be in front of people. But as a songwriter, this is the advice I give everyone, okay? Attack the problem at your level. And good luck. See you next time.